Hi everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is the first Sunday in June. And I have a very big cup of coffee, because I can. And I have foam on my nose now. Great. So how is everybody? Well, great. I'm glad to hear all that. We've got kind of a full video today. I've got haul. I have a finish. A little bit of a whip update. I'm going to do what I'm classifying the active whips. And then the Return of Oz. So, without further ado, we'll just jump right in, of course, with our wonderful Q&A. Julie Martin asks, how many pieces I've finished since I started stitching? That's not the easiest answer, Julie. My guess, at my Stitchiversary last year, I had finished 13 things, I think. My guess is probably about 30 things, because I've had some small ones that have been done. So, and I count each of my Oz ornaments as a finish. So, I've done a pretty decent number. Yeah. Alright. Christine Dorian, who we with a C, not a K, because there's two of you out there, who I had a discussion with about Someday yesterday on Etsy, wants to know a little more about the Brooks Books Oz characters on paper, and she says she's slightly concerned about the degree of modification necessary to make that work. Are there a whole lot of quarter stitches or other details to have to rethink on these? I've done very little altering of charts and find it intimidating. If it's just a stitch here and there, I can cope, but a lot of adjusting would make me nervous. So far, and I'm halfway through the series, the only modifications I've had to make because of it being paper, I had to alter the Munchkin Mare's watch. The time on it was set, and it would have been to go into the, it was like that. So I had to adjust it this way so that it could be stitched. So I had to make that change, and then on the line, and this was mostly because he was on paper, I had to move the butterfly to be touching him, because otherwise it would have just been really awkward. But those are the only two changes I've had to make. And having done the Wicked Witch and Glinda previously, there's nothing on them that would really, other than maybe a slight modification to the, to Glinda's book, to the pages. Otherwise, no. I used couching for the lion, but even then she didn't have any that were hitting in weird spots. They were all in definite corners. So I have had no trouble with it. So hopefully that helps. Button Addict asks me what toothpaste do I use, generally whatever's on sale, and how many shoes do I own? 5 pairs? Yes, everyone who threw out Chock full of nuts, I'm pretty sure that's it. It was either that or Cafe Bustelo, but I think Cafe Bustelo may just be one I associate with it, with shit for brains that we just will forget happened, because he liked that, and that should have been my first warning sign. No, Bunny Mom Julie, I'm not Cash Money Stitcher. Alright, Crafty Angie, I'm glad to hear you're all peaches and cream, says that her husband helps with tweezing, waste canvas, bobbinating, and other crafty dilemmas. How involved is your partner with your craft? Does he cross-stitch, and if not, what's his favorite hobby? I've never heard Sinless Pastry Coffee, by the way. I'm reading her question. I'll answer her thing. She says she's not a coffee drinker anymore. She does drink a lot of hot tea. But she drank one called Sinless Pastry by Churchill Coffee. I will have to look for that, because that sounds... I will always try a local roaster. To answer your question, however, no, he does not cross-stitch. Occasionally, if I've got something that needs bobbinating and I'm worried about it knotting on me, he'll hold it so that I can unwind it. But otherwise, no. He primarily reads and plays video games. Those are probably his two biggest hobbies. Rebecca Johnson asks if I know any male stitchers in San Antonio. No, I think I know a stitcher in San Antonio. I don't remember if that's where Damber lives or not. I think it is. Christine Cannon asks, what monthly club would I recommend for floss? I would go with just the threads from Stitchy Box. You get a variety of threads. It'll be everything from your... Okay, she doesn't generally throw DMC in, but there's usually... You'll see Weeks and Gast and Thread Gather, but you'll also see some Gloriana, some Krynic, some other things. Lori Graffor asks, how am I feeling about my whips? Are you figuring a new rotation? And I'll answer that in this video. Alright, Karen Hunia asks, with Oz being your favorite, what's next in line? Probably a toss-up between Scooby-Doo and the Muppets. Yeah, it's pretty safe. Also, Lori asks, will I be... if I'll put any watts of Watsis in? No, probably not this month. I need to get back to it, but I just haven't. She also wants to know how our dog is doing. He's doing well. He ate a chicken bone on Friday night, so we've been on bone watch duty to make sure he's not in any danger, but we think we're over where he might have been if it was. But yeah. No, he's good. Erin Wallace asks, if you could only stitch patterns from one designer for the rest of your life, who it would be. And if that's entirely too difficult, you can narrow it down to 3, which I say thank you. The only one that immediately springs to mind is Brooke Nolan of Brooks Books Publishing. Definitely her. Beyond that, I really love Blue Ribbon Designs, even though I don't do a lot of Blue Ribbon Designs, but I really love her. I really love, so far, my Tempting Tangles Longfellow. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely Brooke, but I think it's just too hard to try and even pick 3. But I would definitely do Brooke for Eternity. That sounded wrong. I would definitely stitch Brooke's designs for Eternity. Cowgirl Kate Paints Aplenty asks how the NPI silks are to work with. With the exception of that one silver one, I've really liked them. The silver one I've had some trouble knotting on me, but I don't know if it's just that particular skein, or if it's that dye, or what. But overall, I've been very pleased. Kaylin Reynolds, how did your dog chip your tooth? We were roughhousing, and he headbutted me. Alright, Auntie Jen Stitches asks, what is the scarecrow on your shirt saying? It's in the wash. But it's a scarecrow, and he's got a little thought bubble, and it says brains, and the other people are zombies. So Delicious Threads is correct. He's looking for brains with a group of zombies. Though he wants the brain for a very different reason. How/where do I store my perforated paper? I store it flat in a drawer. That's about it. Alright, and I think that is everything. So, Q&A over. let's see. I guess we'll do haul first. Yesterday was another one of those half-price books clearance sales, and I went through the home section. I found a pretty good selection of stuff. So, let's see. I got first this book on silk ribbon embroidery because it looked interesting and I've never done silk ribbon embroidery, and it was 99 cents. So I thought, even if I don't actually do anything with it, I at least picked it up and can sort of give it a shot. So I got that. Then I got this one. This one's really cool. It's called 3D Cross Stitch. And you make little birdhouses, and there's a village, and a box. I don't know if I'll actually ever do them specifically, but I might. Yeah. So it was that was, I thought, really cool. Then I picked up, they had a bunch of the Better Home and Gardens cross-stitch Christmases. And I picked up this one because it had a really cool band sampler in it. It had several other things as well. But I picked it up specifically for the band sampler here, this one. Oh, goodness, and there was stuff inside. From the original owner for Toshiba support. Okay. Oh, and a subscription order. And oh god, this is old. It's a Montgomery Ward credit card bill. Goodness. Wow, from 2011, Montgomery Ward's was still around then? I thought Montgomery Ward's was long gone. Wow, okay. Alright, well. Interesting. I thought Montgomery Ward's was completely gone before then. I actually thought they were gone back in the early 2000s. Huh. Okay. And then I got this one, Heavenly Cross Stitch, primarily because it had a really cute Noah's Ark pattern. That was actually the main reason. And some really cool stained glass looking pieces. Some of it is stuff I would never do, but I did really like the Noah's Ark. So. And then finally, Christmas, it's one of the Leisure Arts, this is Timeless Ornaments. This is Christmas Remembered Book 10. And I got it because there were a series of ornaments for the night before Christmas. I can find them in here again. There's also perforated paper nativity. And I do like that idea. Oh, come on, where was that? Oh, there we go. So, night before Christmas ornaments. So it has... I guess it's just... Yeah. Weirdly, there doesn't seem to be one that actually says, "'Twas the night before Christmas." Unless maybe it's on here. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely not a one that starts with "'Twas the night before Christmas," which is very weird to me. Alright, so I got those. Yay! Alright, I guess let's go on to whips, and then I'll keep going from there. Okay, so this week, obviously started the new month, so I finished an Oz ornament, but in the first part of the week, I worked in the Fairy Tales book. And I got the fence and the little house and the sheep and the trees and that bush done. Yay! So, I worked on those. Come on. Get you back into your bag. Alright, so the way my WIP rotation is working is I went through and I made a list of everything that I had going. And not including my monthly sals. And I broke them down by almost finished, halfway finished, mostly started. And then from there, I just the almost finished stayed. And then I picked 8 others to move over. And then as I finish something, I go back to the list and I bring something else up. So I finished Scooby-Doo, so in the Fairy Tales book came up. Alright, so we've got, obviously, for Wine and Whips this month, I'll be working on trying to finish Blue Jeans and Daisies. So here's Blue Jeans and Daisies, or Whipsy Daisies. Ta-da. So I'm hoping I will actually get to that this week. It'll depend, since I'm 2 months behind on postcards, I may not get to it this week. But we're going to try. Then I've got my Leslie Tier, Wizard of Oz. And I'm a little over halfway done. So, I'm also going to try and bring back the Focus on a Finish thing obviously after this month, since the Focus on the Finish one is my Blue Jeans and Daisies. Alright, we've got, believe it or not, I pulled this one out because I kind of was feeling working on it a little bit. But Whipsy Daisies, Things Unseen. So there's that. And for those curious, even though I really do like Halloween things, and I'm so far been kind of, I've actually been a little tempted by the previews of Spooked, I am going to wait until all 3 pieces are out to decide if I want to do it or not. We've got the absolutely scrumptious Longfellow's Round Tower, which is up here. I can't wait to get back to it. We have Seaflora, which I keep getting close. I'm getting close to a finish on it. It's probably 2/3 of the way done. See? I just need to actually pick it up and work on it again. It's probably only got about 2 weeks worth of work left on it. Anyways. We've got my Plum Street cereal bowl. And it's... No, it's not as done as I was thinking it was. But there's it. We've got that drawn thread one that I showed you last week, the Halloween jumble, which I'm close on. I'm not going to pull it out because it's a pain to get put back. The Harry Potter, which you've seen recently. Beekeeper's Cottage, which I actually need to take off of its Q-snap because I need pieces of it back. Oh, I I can't believe I left a needle half in the thread like that. The one problem with the designs by Elizabeth is she doesn't do a thicker grid line every 10, so that makes it a little more difficult to count. Which is slightly frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take it off the Q-snap while we're sitting here. Put you back in the bag. And then finally, we have the Clouds Factory Wizard of Oz. See, there's Dorothy. So those are my current whips. And it's, again, I primarily do the whole whatever calls to me is what I work on. Unless I've got something specific, like this month we have wine and whips. So, we shall see what we have from there. So those are the whips. This week I'll be working on postcards, trying to finish New Delhi and Giza. I got the border started for New Delhi when I decided I just wasn't feeling it, so... and I may actually have to shift, because one of the main colors in the Egyptian flag is black. I may have to shift where Giza is placed to try and make it visible. Alright, and then we've got May's Magical Creatures after that. So we'll see where I get to at the end of this week, but Magical Creatures will be after postcards. Because I finished Mr. Gillikin the Baker. Ta-da! I did my usual sort of color swaps. No real changes. I did put beads for the berries and his cookie and on the cake. I used, instead of 550, which is the dark purple in his pants, I actually used Fiberlicious Silk's Imperial Purple. I started out using Planet Earth Silk's Peak, but it shredded. So, note of caution, Vineyard Silk, Planet Earth Silk, shred on paper. So don't use them on paper. I replaced all the white with Mother of Pearl from Dinky Dyes. I replaced the light purple with a Victoria Motto sampler that was very close to it. I used the medium purple is Aunt Marie's Violet from Classic Colorworks. And then the darker purple is Dinky Dyes 139 Baula. And then 333... I don't remember what color was 333. Oh, 333 was gonna be the Imperial Palace. Very nice. But I ended up switching it, and that was Vineyard Silk, and I ended up replacing it with Dinky Dyes Hardened Bergia. And then I used a Victoria Motto Silk similar to 3607 for that. The beads I used are 02007 from Mill Hill. I think these are actually the same ones that were in my Kesslin kit. I think. And then I used purples and green Krynix for the glittery parts. And the reason I ended up choosing Mr. Gillikin, you know, I was weighing where does she go, and it occurred to me it made the most sense for Dorothy to meet him in Emerald City while he was scouting locations for a bakery to bring Ozberry cookies and cakes to Emerald City from the Gillikin country in the land of the north. Gillikin's favorite color is purple, much like the Munchkins are blue. There's really not a lot to say about the Gillikins. There are some notable things that occur in Gillikin, but no real overly notable recurring characters. The Good Witch of the North comes from there, but she's only in the first book. The second book, Marvelous Land of Oz, begins in Gillikin, and that's where Mombi, the evil witch, lives, and Tip lives. And it's where Jack Pumpkinhead is created. And then there are a few other things that happen in Gillikin, but for the most part, not much really happens in Gillikin. It's probably the least visited of all the countries. So there's not really a lot to say about them. Alright, so that's the finish. You know what I'm working on this week. As promised, this is Honey Bear. I have had him for as long as I can actually remember. So he's my bear. He'd be the one thing I save. Alright, so without delay, we'll do our little bit of Oz, and then we'll head on off for the week. Alright, so summer is officially started. And there used to be this grand American tradition really starting in kind of the late 30s, early 40s. And it continued pretty solidly up through the 80s. And then sort of fizzled out. There are still, and it was summer stock. And what it was 12 weeks. It was usually June, July, and August. And it would be a new show every week or 2 weeks at a local theater. They frequently would be in the round. They would be inside a tent. And they would get some really big-name stars attracted to do them. And I'll talk about some more of the companies as they come up. So I'm going to do Summer Stock Oz and take you through the summer productions of Wizard of Oz. At least the ones that had someone of name recognition in them. So the first one is the 1952, and unfortunately most of these don't actually have pictures of the production, but is the 1952 production that Dallas Summer Musicals did. It and the Muni were probably the two biggest permanent theaters, and the two biggest that weren't in the round for many, many years. And they got some really, really impressive people to do varying different things. Not the least of which, yes, and the ticket price for a Wednesday night in the balcony was $2.40. But this production had two people of interest. One of which was Maria Tallchief, the ballet dancer, as the Sorceress of the North. Glinda's not in the early stage version, just a generic Sorceress of the North. But of equal interest and importance, and probably more interest, is Mr. Buddy Epson as the Scarecrow, who, as most people famously know, was actually originally cast as the Scarecrow in the film. Ray Bolger campaigned, got him, because Ray Bolger was cast as the Tin Man. So the studio agreed, and Buddy was switched over to the Tin Man, and then got ill from poisoning due to his makeup, aluminum dust, in his lungs. So he was not in the final film. So he did at least get to go over the rainbow and play the Scarecrow in the 1952 Dallas Summer Musicals production of Wizard of Oz. And unfortunately, I've never found pictures of this production. So I have no idea what it looked like. But there you go. So that was the 1952 season. Okay, was there anyone else somewhat interesting? But no, there wasn't. So there you go. The first adventure of Summer Stock in Oz. Yeah. So, that's it for now. I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and I will see you all later.